Welcome, Thomas. Thank you so much for joining the Agile International Meetup. We're very excited to have somebody with your background, but your topic is quite new to the type of topics that we normally do here. So we're excited to hear about something different. So tell us a little bit about yourself and share your knowledge with us.
Sure. Okay, I'll give you a little bit of background so you sort of know who you're talking to or who's on the camera. So I'm 44. Let's start there. But I've lived half my life here in the States and half my life in England. So I'll take you back a little bit to the start of my journey. The start of my journey, like any other English person, was a love of soccer. So I was fortunate at 8 years old. It's a little bit different back home in England, where I got picked up to play for one of the big teams. And I'll never forget it because it was my boyhood team. But it was where I really first experienced failure or rejection. And people are petrified at them words, but it really was that. At 9 years old, I was let go by the team. They sort of went, "No, you're not good enough." And that feeling, I can go back to it very, very, very vividly in my head because it was a moment where your whole sort of life comes crashing down as an 8-year-old. You just think it's like that's it. And I remember my mum sitting opposite me, and she didn't know what to do. She's like, really, what it was just like what any mother would do or any father. It's going to be okay. There's plenty of more opportunities. You can keep going. And I didn't want to hear any of it. Well, anyway, I'll never forget, I told my mum, my dad, I'll never kick a soccer ball again. I'll never play the sport again. And raw emotion when I look back. But then at 10 years old, I got picked up by a bigger team, one of the best in Europe. From there till I was 16, I played for them and I got rejected again. And that's when everything came crashing down again. Um, and then at that moment, with no rhyme or reason, I remember asking my mother and father for £90, in fact, and it was for some stamps. And it was for some stamps so I could write a letter to every professional club within England. There was 92 teams, and I wrote a handwritten letter. And I look back now, I'm like, that's kind of weird. Like, it's not really, why did I do that? How did I do that? So I'm giving you some background. I had hundreds of trials with professional clubs. I floated up and down with professional clubs. I finally, I'll fast forward a little bit at 2001. I got the opportunity to come to America. Um, I graduated high school with E's and F's. So I was not an educated kid. Um, I got offered full scholarships over here, but I wasn't educated enough. So I went to a junior college in New York. Just so happened we won a national championship. I then went back to England to try and be a professional again for a couple of years. Didn't work out. I then get another opportunity to come to America in 2004, um, where I won another national championship with a team and got a full scholarship to play. And then I got a degree in psychology, and then pure luck, the school that I went to, the women's coach, soccer coach, didn't have a grad assistant. The woman quit on the first day, and he went, "Do you want to be my coach, my grad assistant?" I went, "Yeah, sure." Um, so I did my master's, women's assistant coach, and then all of a sudden it was like, well, I'm 20 by 27. I've got no money. Um, I've got two degrees, and I didn't have a clue what to do. Um, and my friend on my team, Danny Rissonen, his dad used to drive a Rolls Royce always to the games. And I went, "Larry, what do I have to do to drive a Rolls Royce?" And he went, "Well, I work for a company, it was a medical device company." I said, "Well, give me a job. I've got two degrees." And like, this is the American dream, right? And he went, "Doesn't work that way." He went, you got to go and get some experience in the sales world. I've never got any experience in selling. I worked for a company in technology on a 24,000 a year draw plus commission. And I didn't even know what a draw was. So I called my parents in England and told them that I'd hit the jackpot, um, which obviously a draw is you're paying, you've got to pay each month to work there. But very, very quickly, I established through um, through basically having no other choice that it's all about um, relationships, what it means to have relationships, courage, authenticity. I figured these things out and I started winning like everything. I started making money and started prospering. And then I got headhunted by a gentleman for one of the biggest companies in America, um, private at the time. And he kept trying to recruit me, offering me big money. And I just kept saying no because I wanted to be a leader, but I had no experience. One day he put an offer in front of me and said, I want you to be a leader. And then I went, well, why do you want me to be a leader? I've got no experience. And he said some words that stuck with me that I'd never forget. And this was back in 2012. He went, you'll find a way to win. And didn't make sense at the time. I then get hired and go up this ladder from a sales manager all the way up to executive leadership for one of the biggest companies in globally. But I ran one of the American divisions, Xerox. We got acquired by Xerox actually, and about 2 years ago, um, something happened, and it was the I guess we all have moments in our lives. Everybody on this call would, but it was one where if you look at everything from a materialistic standpoint, so where you're at money wise, what you've got material wise, I hit everything, but something didn't feel right. And I'm looking around and I'm like, it feels like I'm cheating. That's the only way I can describe it. And we'll get into it in a minute. But I went, I don't think this is it. I think that there's more to be unlocked within me that should feel different, um, and those around me. And I dug into what I believe my traits were. And this is where we'll transition into now what this is going to be about today, which is the high achiever. And you are either a high achiever or you want to be a high achiever. And what I mean by that is you either want to be on the sports field or you want to watch or you're watching the people on the sports field. One or the other. Now, for me, my whole life as a high achiever, and this is where it gets difficult, is if I describe the high achiever, I'm one that's very, very intense. I'm very, very selfish. Um, I could also be very ambitious, also very sensitive. Um, I could play with my little girl picking butterflies in a garden, but I could go out there in a boardroom and and they would see the eyes of who I am and what I believe in. Um, but it's all ego fueled. When you're a high achiever, you're looking for things of titles, money, um, plaudits, recognition. It's all these things that's fueling the high achiever. So what I did was in 2023, I did an experiment within the biggest corporate company in the world, and I wrote down and I created the foundations or sort of the traits that a high achiever has. Me, everybody, ego, understanding when ego is driving decisions and fears next year, understanding how to be vulnerable in all situations, no matter what, which takes courage, how to be authentic in all situations, to take off the mask wherever you're at, um, trust and belief. I created 10 foundations and I went, right, I'm going to, in the biggest experiment within everybody who I touch and myself, they're not going to know it, but I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to live it and breathe it in every aspect. Well, what happened is at the end of that year, it wasn't only the most money that I'd ever earned or every single person that I touched had ever earned, but the whole company, their profits went through the roof. Their relationships with their spouses, peers, customers went through the roof. Everything just blew up in an incredible way. And went back to England, walked through my park, and then I said, right, well, I've got a choice. I can either just keep doing what I'm doing, no problem, or I'm not a special person, but I've just figured out the how to take this to people that want to be helped, not just doing it for people that see materialistic money as the outcome. And so that's what I did just over a year ago. Um, is I started my own company, and it's very, very, very niche. And what I mean by niche is what I do is I help high achievers become high performers. And what I mean by a high performer um, is think of it from this standpoint. And I'm going to ask you all to do something in a minute to get you to feel it. A high achiever will sleep on the pillow and it feels heavy, no matter what. No matter what your wins are, no matter what you've got great things happening, the pillow will feel heavy. A high performer will sleep light on the pillow and you will win. So if I may, as I give you that intro, um, first of all, what you'll understand with what I'm going to share tonight is I've got an objective. Is my aim is that at the end of this call, that you all have something, a seed planted that you can take some of these things that I'm sharing and instantly impact what you're doing, who you are, and you'll feel it, you'll taste it, and it'll be like a light bulb that goes, whoa, you're gonna feel like you've got some 3D goggles on. That's my aim. So if I may, bear with me because I don't believe in PowerPoints. I'm very sort of outside the box because the number one blocker of any high performance is fear. And I'm going to share something with you if I may. So you don't have to show me this, but what I'd like you to do is have a piece of paper. You've all got a piece of paper where you're at right now and a pen. Okay. So I want you to get a piece of paper and a pen. And what I'd like you all to do, if I can do this, let's see if this works. I'm going to try and do something here that I'm not sure will work, but we'll soon find out. And we might work. Right now. Okay, hang on a minute. Give me a second here. Right, can you see that whiteboard, everybody? Can you see that?
It's loading, it's loading.
Okay, do you see a whiteboard?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's
Yes.
we see it
All
now.
right, perfect. Okay, right. Now, I want you to look at that as if it's your white piece of paper that you've got in front of you. Okay? Now, ignore my art skills. Oh, who's writing? So don't write on that. Let me write on it. I want you guys to write on a piece of paper that you've got, where you're at right now, by your desk, by your coffee or whatnot. Okay? I'm going to pretend that I want you to copy what I'm doing. All right? So let's see if I can do this. So I want you to, on that paper, I want you to draw a line right across the middle of your piece of paper. Okay? So can everyone see that, what I've just done?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Right. Now, obviously, this is for you, not for me. Okay, I'm not going to ask you to show me. You haven't got to, don't worry about what you put there. This is purely for all of you. Okay. Now, I've got a 5-year-old little girl and I've got an 8-year-old little boy, and they're all better drawers than me. But I've done this. It doesn't matter what your title is, who you are, whether you're a 5-year-old, an 8-year-old, or a billionaire. This applies to everyone. I want you to draw a house. And I want you to draw a roof on the house. Yes. And all I want you to do is just draw a door in the house. Okay. And in the top right hand corner here, I want you to draw another little door. That's the doorknob of the door. Okay. Now, each everybody on this call, it doesn't matter um, what you do, who you are. I want you all on your white piece of paper to write down anything that is keeping you up, anything that's a problem, a challenge, somebody that you're, it could be something as simple as geez, my boy's got a soccer match and I'm worried that he's going to uh, not play well, or I'm worried about a conversation at work with a colleague. I'm worried about a chat with my husband. Doesn't matter. Whatever it is that there's something that you're scared of having a conversation or an action. Could be your health, could be someone's health, could be something that's going on. Something that is making you worried is an easier way to do it. Making you a little bit scared about the situation, something that is keeping you up, something that maybe when you're lying on that pillow of a night, you're thinking about it. Okay. I want you to write these things anywhere underneath here, underneath that line. Doesn't matter what they are. It doesn't matter if you've got one, doesn't matter if you've got 10, but just think. And I hate that word think because it makes you like start like overanalyzing it. Whatever is your feeling, write it underneath that line in that blank space area. Okay. So I want you to just think about this for a minute of something that I shared when I did my intro is, you know, we're all adults on this call. And when I say the word fear, you know, everybody's got a vision in their head. So if I said it to my little 5-year-old girl, what is it you're fearful of? It'll probably be the monster under the bed or the bogeyman or something, right? But when we get to adults, we seem to have this, the only thing that ever gets offended is the ego, and the ego will start to protect us. But I want you to look at all of these things that you've wrote down here. And I want you to look up here at this door. And I'm going to call this door the back door. And what do I mean by the back door? Well, the back door is anything that you have down here. Am I avoiding the conversation? Am I potentially sending an email rather than having the difficult conversation face to face because I'm scared of what could happen? Am I taking the back door because I'm worried that if I speak up, I'm going to look silly, or people may make fun of me, or people may not respect me? Am I taking the back door to an action or a communication? Because anything that you have here is either something that you have to do or you're avoiding to do, or something that you're avoiding to speak, a communication. So all of those things here, ego, avoidance, my writing's terrible, but you get the picture, is that. Now, I want you to look at this front door. At the top of this front door is fear. That's right at the front door. And at the top of that front door is vulnerability. And vulnerability is basically takes absolute courage, because to go through that front door is maybe we're scared of what could come. Maybe we're scared of what could happen. Maybe through that front door, it's emotional exposure. So I'm exposing myself. Through that front door is risk, because if I expose myself, I don't know the outcome. Through that front door is I've got to be authentic. I'm removing the mask. I'm removing what I should say, what I've been told, but really what I know that my gut is saying that I need to share. That's where truth, honesty is through the front door. So when I speak to people, I'm just saying, when I do this little exercise, it's very simple because I'm like, well, my role, my job, you can call me whatever you like. I've been called everything: high performance coach, motivator, consultant. And I'm like, well, it doesn't matter to me what you call me because that's labels. Doesn't matter. But what my job is to try and get you to the front door in any of these areas that you have there. And the more that I can make you aware of your actions, communications, what you need to do, you still may take the back door. But the more aware that you get of opening the front door where fear, vulnerability, rather than taking the back door, you will hit every data, every metric, and you'll start to become that high performer. That is what I call winning whole. So you remove all the masks, the mask for being a mother, the mask for being a father, the mask for being a friend, the mask for being the profession, whatever your title is. Remove it all. I'm Thomas Poston, and I'm going to be Thomas Poston in every area consistently. So, um, anyway, so I share that to just first of all on this call, try to plant some seeds with you all. Um, because I can tell you every moment in my life where I've took the back door in a decision and the results of it. And I can tell you every moment when I've gone through the front door and the results of it. And it's absolutely petrifying, let me tell you, going through that front door. Very, very difficult. Um, and and I will share one little story, and I'd like to ask some questions to the group if I may. I was recently hired by a huge hospital because the number one issue in America in the healthcare industry, you may have read about it, um, is burnout for physicians. They're burning out, and it's very, very sad. And what's happening is the hospitals are spending a lot of money on wellness and emails or where they can log in and check in and all that. And by all means, when I share this, again, this is me advocating the front door. I believe that there are very that they're all useful areas for the right people. But as they hired me for a reason, it's because with them professionals specifically, they're not they're not helping, they're not guiding the people in the white coats. They're high achievers. They're they are so of the highest level. Whereas what's been happening is the people that are trying to help them are going round it through the back door. And that's why the fallout and the disconnect is happening. And I share that because whatever roles that you're all in, what usually happens when I share these things is you're thinking not just about yourself, but people that you are connected with within your life or your roles. And you're thinking about moments where when they're talking to you and your gut saying, "Mm, I'm not, I don't believe them. There's something not quite right." And what I'd offer is that is usually your gut is where authenticity is. That's where that's where the truth is. But then acting from that place is so hard in certain environments. So anyway, I just wanted to share that because I thought it would just give a visual for you guys to do it. And the other aspect is, and I will share, there was one gentleman, the doctor, that had nothing on there when we did it in a group setting. He had nothing below the white line, below that line. And I didn't call him out, but what I shared was, because I could see, he was in a room, is The opposite of vulnerability is invincibility. So if you
Okay.
think that you have nothing that you're fearful of, zero, well, as I asked my little boy that question many, many months ago when I came up with this philosophy, the front door, back door, I said, Sully, what does invincibility mean to you? And he looked at me and he went, well, Superman, Batman, Elon Musk's car, that's invincible, Daddy. And
Mhm.
I went, yeah. And I've never met an invincible human in my life, no matter how much money you have, what title you have, what role you have. We're all human beings and hollow bone. So what that gentleman is his ego protecting of what's really going on. And the mask is that stuck on of where he's at. It's holding him back. So anyway, I'm sharing that, but I'd love to hear your thoughts and ask away any questions that you may have regarding because there's two things that I loved about what was shared at the start of this presentation from Ali. There was I only wrote two. I know there was 8 things on there. One is open to new ideas, curious, always be curious, and the second one is being courageous. That's very difficult unless you've got vulnerability. So so there's 2 things there. So it takes an act of courage, um, which to get there, you have to vulnerability has to occur. So I just thought there were 2 things. But what questions do you have for me? Or ask away. It's great to be here, by the way.
So I have a question. You said that when you go through that door, right, and
Hmm.
your authentic self is probably a side of yourself that you're not, you're scared to go into because it's probably not the best side of yourself, right? It's the part that's full of fear, correct? I think that's
Um, well, if you think about the word authentic, right? Because I think we're in a world right now, and this is why I'm very, I don't like to, I'm trying to picture, put the right word. I'm trying not to just slam words on this call, like authenticity, be authentic and be vulnerable and understand when the ego, because if you just use words, it gets lost. But what I'll share, Regina, is from authentic is it's when you say something and you believe it. So what I'm sharing with you, you may not agree with, which is absolutely okay. But if it's what I'm sharing with you and I believe it, that's my truth, right? That's my truth. That's how I feel. Now, if I'm being inauthentic, it's meaning that I'm saying something to you to try and manipulate the situation, to try and I'm thinking, what does Regina want to hear? What does Regina want to? Sorry, the sun's in my eyes. What does Regina want me to say, or how should I say it? Well, if I'm starting to go there, that's inauthenticity. You feel it instantly. Everybody on this call knows when you have been inauthentic because it's a feeling, isn't it? My word, I do it. I do it every day. By the way, I'm not an expert. It's like expert word. I trip up every day. The difference is when I trip up, it hits me so hard. So if I've been inauthentic, it hits me so hard that it's like it makes me feel terrible and I have to act on it. So what I usually have to do when I act on it, it takes vulnerability to my wife. Hey, sorry, I want to just share what I did there and what I said. I, I didn't I didn't mean to say that. I was scared because I didn't like what happened. What with my, actually, I'll give you a classic example, real life, because I just share everything. My grandma's in hospital in England, and something went on, and instantly I just went to like reactive mode, like my emotion, and I said something because I was worried. It was fear, and I sat with it. It didn't feel right, and then I'm like, ah, that's me. I've said that because I'm scared, I'm worried, I'm fearful, and I didn't know what to do. So I've got 2 choices: don't do anything or own it. Well, when you to own it, that takes everything because nobody likes to admit when they're wrong or done something wrong. I mean, and the higher up your ladder you go, I mean, it's even worse. But what you find is when you have that act of courage, one act of courage at a time, which is vulnerability there, which takes everything, it spreads. It spreads like wildfire because people start going, well, if daddy can do that, it's okay for me to do that. Or when I'm in the corporate world and I'm the VP, well, hang on a minute, the VP's doing that. Hang on a minute, maybe it's okay for me to do that. And then all of a sudden, it's just, well, it's just a trickle on effect, right? And the more consistent that you can, and I just share with people going through that front door. This is not like you're going to start, this is not you're going to get off the call and say, Ro, I'm going to be authentic and go through the front door and I'll face my fears. That's not going to happen. But what I aim to do on these calls is can you at least be aware? Can you at least be aware and pause and go, still take the back door, no problem. But the more that you're aware, one day you're just going to be like, you know what? I need to have this conversation. Front door. And then all of a sudden it's like you go through it and it's like you got like the butterflies and it's like, oh my gosh. And then you come through and you're like, wow, hang on a minute. My feet feel sturdy. I always say your feet feel sturdy. There's a reason because you're not fueling it with ego, you're fueling it with truth, authenticity. So I've answered it in a long about way, but I'm
Yeah.
just trying to help you understand what I mean by that.
Yeah, I was looking, no, that's great. And also like what are the steps to go from fear to courage? Like if you have to make a very important decision in your life, whether it's personal or professional, right? And you're
Yeah.
petrified. You're petrified. What are some of the steps to
Yes.
go from fear to
Brilliant.
courage?
That's a great question. Fantastic question. There's a four-step process that I tell
And I'm
people.
using the word petrified because some things are that
No,
scary for
no,
individuals.
and
Okay.
well, what just think about it, right? Like everybody thinks that like we have this mentality. I think it's where we're at in the world right now. Is that vulnerability is a big thing, so everyone's talking about it. So it's a buzzword, but like what's petrifying to some person could be a conversation with a colleague. It doesn't need to be this big thing like an athlete that's going out in front of 50,000 people or or a doctor that they're a doctor going to say, like, it doesn't matter. Everybody on this call has things that makes them feel petrified. It's all okay. But I want to give you a four step process that will help you in any situation, any. And I call it VADA. Okay. So the first one is vulnerability. So if you think of it, first of all, it's like, right, don't try and escape where I'm at. So I'm example, right? So let's use this call as a real example. So I'm coming on this call tonight. I know none of you. So it's like, right, petrifying, what could I do? Should I do this? What if they think I'm terrible? What if they think I'm awful? What if I say this and it goes wrong? So all these fears, right? So vulnerabilities. Okay, yes. Do you feel all that? Yeah, I do. Okay. All right. Well, that let's not pretend that's not happening. That's how you feel. Okay. Acceptance is the next one, right? So the next word, acceptance. Do I accept that all of these things could happen? Yes. Okay. All right. Oof. Okay. All right. Discipline. So now am I prepared to still go on the course? Am I prepared to still do what I need to do? Am I prepared to still deliver the truth? What I believe is the foundations for to be a high performer, to transition from a high achiever to a high performer, which is in truth rather than ego. I'm going to share it all. Am I going to get on the Zoom, press the button and go, right, and action. boom, let's go, let's deliver. So vulnerability, acceptance, discipline, action. 4 steps. Any problem that you've got, any challenge, if you go through them 4 steps, any conversation, any action, whatever it is, and you write it down, you write it down, whatever the situation, write what the piece of the vulnerability is, write what you've got to accept, the discipline, what it's going to take, and the action, boom. You, you'll start to understand then, okay, right, so what would that take to go through the front door? What would it take to go through the back door? To be honest, I was going to send that email. It was a bit safe if I sent the email. Yeah, I'm gonna go through the front door and I'm gonna go and speak to that person tomorrow.
Okay.
You know,
Right. And then I guess the one that says, are you prepared, right? I guess to be prepared for whatever the consequences also.
yeah, yeah. Well, and that's the tough part, right? So if you think you've got vulnerability and you've got invincibility, right? So write these 2 words next to each other, and I'm going to tell you to write a word under each one and the opposite. So if you look at vulnerability, right? First word, risk. Okay. Well, the opposite for invincibility is safety. So we've got that's the opposite. Then we've got uncertainty under vulnerability. Under invincibility, we've got safety, right? That's the other one. Then we've got let's so under vulnerability, we've got emotional exposure because we're saying it and we're exposing ourselves. And there's nothing worse than exposing yourself to knowing what not's coming back. Or the opposite is stay hidden, play it safe. Do I really need to say these things? Then you've got empathy, or we've got sympathy. Then we've got and vulnerability, authenticity, or invincibility, we've got inauthenticity. And then we've got vulnerabilities, truth, honest, what you're sharing. Or am I going to be invincibility and not share my truth, which is dishonest? Because if you don't share your truth, people think that as long as I don't lie, it's okay. No, I disagree with that. That to me is a backdoor comment. That is a backdoor. That is not a high performer. Truth takes everything. Authenticity takes the abundant amount of courage. Most difficult traits to do 24 hours a day. Hard, so hard. But the more consistent, the more that you are able to just remove the mask, the more that you will feel different.
I wanted to open up for anybody else. I think some folks on the line have questions. Marjorie. Hi, Marjorie. I think I know you, Marjorie. Do I know you?
Yes, track phone.
Oh, that's what I thought when I saw your name. Welcome. So happy to see you.
Likewise. I thank you so much for sharing all this, Thomas. It definitely brings a different perspective and it's so valuable. I've written a whole bunch of notes on it. Do
You're
you
welcome.
have any books that you recommend for fear
Oh,
or anything that's related to everything that you just
uh,
mentioned?
it's funny because I mean, I literally how this all came about as well is that I used to pay oh geez, when I was in the role at the Xerox, I mean, I was in charge of hiring all the speakers. The we used to fly to for 3 day events on leadership training, and they're all fantastic people. And I used to pay a lot of money, but it was like having a can of Coca-Cola, but it was just
Mm-hmm.
rebranded in a different color. That's how it always felt. And I just got tired. God, this sun's moving around everywhere. So, but I read every single book, literally. I mean, talk about that crazy, intense high achievers. Like I wanted everything. I wanted every. I've literally probably read every book out there. But there are a couple of books that I share. But there's a big but to this. I
Mhm.
always feel it depends where you are on your journey. And
Mhm.
what I mean by where you are on your journey is the individual, because we're all different, right? We're all
Yeah.
on this individual journey of um of wherever we're at, right? Wherever we're at. So there's a book I love, but I could recommend it, and you might read it and go, it's a little bit oof, like I don't really get it.
Mhm.
So what I would ask is a quick question before I give it you. Tell me, um, tell me, can you give me sort of I know it's difficult, not trying to put you on the spot. What type of give me a little background on you, or what your journeys, or where you're at, or what your um challenges are, or what something that I can sort of relate to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have different areas of challenges, but when you were saying what keeps you up at night, it's a lot of things, and then one of them is my kids, right? Because I do have two
Right.
children, and one of them wants to go the soccer route, just like you. And as you're speaking, I'm, going into the future almost, right? I'm thinking, wow,
Right.
that's a lot of things to face. And he
Hmm.
wants, this is what he really wants to do. And we're going to make the decision to send him to a camp for 6 weeks abroad.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, this 6 weeks it's either going to make him or break him, right?
Hmm.
But as a mom, you have that fear of, he's going to probably go through a process, and is that going to, and how am I going to deal with that? And then my daughter, she is dyslexic in reading and math, and she was going
Hmm.
to a very expensive school. And we have to pull her out of that school because it's just so much. And now I have to put her in a public school, okay?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I'm thinking, what are the challenges that she's going to face as an 11-year-old girl, knowing that multiplication, division, it's difficult for her age because she has
Hmm.
this dyslexia, right? Which
Hmm.
could also
Right.
have so many pros, but it doesn't sit
Hmm.
well with your typical school system.
Hmm.
And those are the things that just live in my mind at night.
Hmm.
And those are the
Hmm.
things that I'm thinking, how do I help them, right? I mean, that's just my one of
No,
my
brilliant,
aspects here.
brilliant. No, and thank you for sharing that. That's a brave share. Like, thank you so much. I mean, listen, I that there. I mean, I got the same fears as you. I mean, I'm like, I wrestle with it all with my kids. It's a whole different
Mhm.
feeling, right? So um, I'm glad that you shared that, because before you shared that, I was thinking of this book or that book. I'm like, I'm not going to share any of them with you now. Not because I don't
Mhm.
think they're great books, but I just think that it's not it's not kind of relevant. Um, I'm not just going to throw a book at you, but what I would really offer to you, honestly, this is what my guts screaming and sharing
Mhm.
is the more the more courage that you have to face it all. Um,
Mhm.
and that is so hard. I mean, I think back to my mum and dad, and I'm like, oh my
Mhm.
God, that must have been
Yeah.
crazy. Like, I was a
Yeah.
lunatic. And they used to, my dad worked, my dad's actually here now in Tampa. He retired from the post office last year. My mum's still working. And they used to scrimp
Mhm.
and save to get me flights here, flights there. They never once like, but I look back now, and I'm like, they must have been like together going, oh no, he's going to get another rejection, another failure. And I'm looking at it now as a
Mhm.
parent and go, wow, how courageous is that? Knowing that your
Yeah.
son is probably going to fail, but backing him anyway, right? So I think that they had this seed planted in me, where they have no idea. They just thought, well, we just do what we do, right? That's what mum and dads do. I'm like, nah, not really. I'm like, I mean, I
Mhm.
teach this stuff. but you guys didn't have a clue how you were doing it. I've just got the
Yeah.
how to help people. So what I would offer to you is the more that you can just approach the situations where you and or just you, that's all, I don't know your husband, but yourself,
Mm-hmm.
is having the courage to let go.
Yeah.
That's hard, right? So but
Yeah.
the more that you're able to do that, that's where you're allowing those around you, like your kids, to create. You're letting them create. You're letting them fail, basically. Which is,
Yeah.
geez, you say that word in the world, and they look at you like they want to just like turn the lights off and go, "That's a bad word." But it's not, because for me, that is the most beautiful word ever. Because if I
Mm.
wasn't encouraged to fail, without my mum and dad saying, "Go and fail today," they didn't say that, but really they were like thinking, "Oh my God, another trial, another trial. Oh shit, we know
Yeah.
what's coming." But they were but really that's what they were allowing me to do. And it's like the athlete
Mm-hmm.
that just keeps shooting, just keep shooting, and if they keep it's like you keep shooting. And I think that is the most incredible aspect. So that actually a book springs to mind, but it's a little bit people could call it a bit spiritual. I don't. I just get it from the
Mm-hmm.
standpoint of it was a surrender experiment, and there's a guy who's a billionaire, and he literally his whole life was letting go, the ability to let go, and let go just means,
Mm-hmm.
it's like when I was in the sales world, I would let go, some of my people go and have an appointment that could make or break our month, because I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I've got to help the individual, and I can't. I'm going to help them by letting them be brave, and if they fail, and if they don't get it, it's okay, because we're going to
Mm-hmm.
go again. We're going to grow. But that is so hard. So that book, I feel, connects with your challenges to let go,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what it is a little
Yeah.
bit, right? It's the ability to
Yeah.
let go,
Yeah.
which is so hard.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I've never really seen it that way, but you're right. It's like you said,
It's
we have to
hard.
let go to see them fail or not,
Wow,
we don't,
it's so hard. And the other thing that I just want to add, actually, you just ping this to my head, is we're in a world where everything is deemed right and wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And what these when you start looking at these high performers, right? Um, as what was Regina put at the start, the open to new ideas is, can we add two more words? Sense the nonsense. So, example, when my little boy lashes out on a soccer pitch and tackles someone
Mm-hmm.
really bad because someone, put one on him, I'm not going to shame him, because does it make sense that he got angry? Yeah, it does. So rather than me just go, "That's terrible, that's wrong," have I ever done it? Yes, I have. Okay. So how do I want to approach it? Well, you've
Mm-hmm.
been there, you've done it. So maybe just it makes sense what he's done. Don't agree with it, but now can I start talking and delivering the truth from there, rather than "That's terrible," and and that's leadership, that's parenting, that's so add them. If you put them two words in as well as a good leave behind tonight, is right v wrong, but can we also add sense the nonsense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's add them two words in the mix as well.
Awesome. That's great insight. And thank you so much.
Ah, no, you're
I
welcome.
really appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Good luck to your son as well. I was excited.
Yes, it is.
Awesome. Thank you, Marjorie. Thank you for sharing and great to see you. Is there anybody else that has any other questions for Thomas? Amalia. We got, I think Vivian or
So
Carnegie. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, it's Vivian. So you spoke about the four steps, right? The
Yeah.
vulnerability, the acceptance, the discipline, the action, right? Could you
Yeah.
speak to the discipline? Are you talking about the focus, the relentless uh, process
Yeah,
of being successful. Could you speak to that a little bit?
yeah. So, yeah, great question, Vivian. Thanks for sharing that. So, I'll use it. The way my brain works is to try and simplify an explanation with an analogy. That's just how I am. So, um, if I think of it from a standpoint of an athlete, right? It's let's say I'm going out to playing a game. Okay, so am I scared that I might mess up, that I might lose, that I might miss the shots? People might make fun of me. Yeah. Do I accept that all this could happen? Yeah. Now the discipline part is: am I still prepared to get my kit on to go out on the field? Am I prepared to do that? Lace up, glove up, kit on, right? Yes. Do it, and then action is I perform and go through it. So the discipline part, you're absolutely right, is that's the part as the runner. Am I putting my shoes on? Am I lacing up? If that's the in the sales world, that's the salesperson or the sales manager or the leader or the VP going, right, we're in the car, we're on our way there, we're going. Discipline to keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. And then the action is performing the task. So the discipline part, or what I call the sweat part, Vivian, the sweat part, right? And then the last part, the action, is the courage to get on the field or to get in the meeting or to have the conversation or to do the action. And the discipline part is the step before that I'm going to go through. I'm going to get up. I'm going to do it, because that's got to come. That mindset before the action.
And I guess the willingness to accept that there might be early failures and continue, right?
And that is exactly what you just said is that is for me why I started this company, because I was tired of people out there that are trying to do wonderful things, like honestly trying to really, and it's the billionaires or the millionaires, and they have a rags to riches story, and then they have the bit at the end, and then they just say, have courage, work hard, have courage. And I'm like, hang on a minute, I I think there's more to it. Can you share the bit in the middle on the how? Because failing is horrendous. When you keep missing shots, it's horrendous. To the salesperson that keeps making the calls that's getting rejected, it's horrendous. So how do you get through that part? Teach me this part, or let me understand the how to get through it, right? To get through the trenches, to get through the situations that just keep me up at night. And this is what I found. It's like that 4-step process. It doesn't matter what it is: health, personal, professional, $1 million meeting, a first appointment meeting, internal meeting with a colleague, external meeting with a client, the athlete that's about to go out on the pitch, the coach that's lost 5 games and on his 6 games. I've spoke to everyone and everyone in the middle. I've spoke to literally doctors, all the same. That process there is, you can take it through any situation. Now, obviously, it's harder, right? The more that's at stake, but really, it's no different. It's no different. You know, sometimes it's as difficult having a conversation with your 8-year-old than what it was having a conversation with one of the biggest clients that, to renew a contract. I'm like, how am I going to tell my 8-year-old that the dog's about to die that we've had for 16 years? I'm like, oh my God, this is horrendous. I'd rather lose a big deal. So that is like, so it's all relevant. It's all relevant to us. So I hope that helped, Vivian.
Sure. Thank you. I really appreciate you
Yeah,
explaining.
no
Thank
problem,
you.
mate.
Great. Any other questions? We got
Have, have,
Ruchi. Oh, Amalia. Yes.
have you have you received any questions related to ethics or moral values in business, and how do you answer those?
Oh, tough, 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 tough. Great question. What do I mean by tough? Well, I'll give you real life examples. Um, when I first started in leadership with that company, I never forget. Um, when you don't know anything, right, you only know what you know. So I never forget this, and it was the first time that I had to let someone go, and we had a HR director, and it was someone said, "You can only say this. You can only say this. Don't say anything else." These 4 sentences here. And I'm like, okay. I'm like panicking. I'm like, oh my God, like, what shit, what's going on? And I'm like, and I did it. And the person left. And it always stuck with me, this did. And I'm like, what does that person then do? Like, I'm like, they don't know what they could have done better or why they're leaving, or there wasn't a bad person, just and as I got into the leadership journey as well on the ethics, etc., um, I started, especially in that last year, I started not to be the um, person that would try and cause conflict, but when asked the question, um, I was prepared to share the truth. But that there is very hard. So I totally get when people go, "Well, yeah, but in this environment, that environment," and I'm like, "Listen, I'm not judging anyone. I'm not saying you have to do this or you have to do that. What I'm sharing with you is this: if you're wearing a mask and you're in a job, a role, parent, wife, husband, leader, coach, soccer coach, VP, president, if you keep wearing these masks and keep feeling that you're performing in each of them, I'm not bothered who you are or what you do. Your performance will will never be, you will never know what your true performance is because you are performing. You put in the mask. So you will glide. High achievers can win. I won for years being a high achiever, but I was wearing masks. I wasn't winning whole. Once I won whole, there were some relationships that went by the wayside, but it's like peeling back layers of skin. It was kind of meant to be. And all of a sudden, there were challenges, but through me being more authentic, there was a level of performance within me that started to come out. It was like, ooh, I always thought there was more in here, and now it's coming out. It's coming out. But it's very hard, Amalia. It's difficult, but there is a feeling, I would say, and I always go back to if what you're doing in your role, not saying you personally, if my feet don't feel sturdy when I'm talking, or if I'm talking to anyone, it tells me. My gut's telling me, and it'll go, yeah, you can keep going if you want, but there's a knowing, there's a feeling. Um, so I only have one way of operating, and I'm prepared that for some, it's like, no, this ain't working. We need to do it. Oh, no problem. But what I find is the more that I'm able to deliver who I am and what I believe in, the more that I will connect with those in front of me or disconnect. And both is okay. Both is okay. But it's hard. You are right. It's hard.
We're taking notes.
That's all right. It's not a problem. It's not a
We're
problem.
taking notes.
Yeah. Well, this is why how I. And again, I don't like. It's not. I don't share stuff like just because I was in a world of PowerPoints. I done it all, and it's not that I'm saying my way is the right way or wrong way, but with this work of what I deliver, um, uh, you, I've got to try and plant seeds for you all, because the worst part for me when I used to pay for people or get people in, you'd have an uptick of a motivation. You'd feel good, like you put a Rocky song on. And then after about 30 minutes, it was like having a Red Bull. It's like, so I'm like, my aim is, of course, I don't want you to all be like doom and gloom. I want you to be like, wow, that's interesting. And then there's like little fires going off in my brain, because I want to help you. I want you to have an impact, so that when you're in your life, right? It's not work-life balance. It's life. This is your life. I want you to have a better life. There's one other thing that I've just springs to my head. Um, I used to use this word best so much. I want to be the best. I want my son to be the best footballer. I wanted to be the best footballer. I want to be the best coach, the best leader. And then as I started to, that was the high achiever in me. That was ego driven. Once I understood that when I was a high performer, and I still battle both, but I'm very understanding of where I am and who I am, is I'm like, best doesn't exist for me. I don't know what my best is. Now, what I do know is when I've gone through the front door, I've had some results that have been incredible. I know when I've took the back door that I've had some results that were horrendous. So I want you to think about your bed every night when you get in your bed. And I want you to think about what bed stands for, because this is what I do. Better every day. Better every day. Because it doesn't matter what type of day you've had, but tomorrow I can be better. Everything's about better. Better, 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 better. Because, geez, and I would used to preach it like best, 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 best. And I was like, oh my gosh, what have I been doing? Like, it was fueled by my ego. And I'm like, well, it's not an infinite, is it? Everybody wants to become better, and if we can try and get our mindset to that place, wow, anything's possible, right? Any other questions you got for me? Great questions, by the way, guys and girls. Fantastic. Brilliant.
I think that was an aha moment.
Yeah, the reason I asked this question is because I know that there are many toxic environments, and the like being authentic means that you should address the toxic work environment.
It's very tough, and I will say that one of the foundations that I do dig into, that I cover, and it's one of the toughest ones, is toxic shame. And the environments that you're talking about there was in 2022, prior to what I shared with you about earning all this. That year I earned a lot of money, most money I'd ever earned, and our teams crushed it. But we was in a toxic environment, and I knew it, and I knew I was part of it. And it's a little bit like, and what I said, I'll share this story. I think I'll share it quickly, but we've all had experiences in our life with a bully, right? You might have to go back to when you were a kid. That's fine. You may not, but we've all had an experience in our life with a bully. And for that year, I watched this bully people, scan people. You're useless. You don't listen. You're never going to be anything. And I didn't do anything. I never said anything, but I was like, my head was like, well, it's pointless. I can't talk to him. Nothing I can do. We're hitting our numbers. Everyone's making loads of money. Let him just do what he does. But what happened was this gentleman had he was going to get fired. He knew it was coming and he quit. And I had a very good relationship with the global president. And I never forget a lovely lady. She went, "You want the job?" I went, "No, thank you." I went, I'm happy doing what I'm doing right now because I knew I was doing this experiment. I went, "You can pay me X and I'll look after everything. Don't worry about nothing." And I said, "But there's one thing I have to do." And she went, "What?" I said, "I've got to take the next 2 days and I've got to sit down with every single person in the company because I've wrote down the times when these people were shamed, from the cleaner to the high sales rep. There was about 100 and some employees." And she went, "No, no, don't do that. You don't need to do that. You don't need to do it. It's not your fault. You never did anything." And I went, "If you're in the room with a bully and somebody's been bullied and you don't do anything, you are the bully." And I tell you what, them 2 days were the worst 2 days. Talk about fear, Vivian. The worst 2 days of my life were two of them because I knew what I was having to do. And some of these people looked at me and didn't say anything. Some of these people cried in front of me. I had tears. Some of these people let me have it. Once I shared like the truth, I went, "This is what he said on this day." And I want to say, I said sorry to everyone. I meant it. I said, "I've got to build a relationship." I went home after them 2 days, undid my tie, and I went, "I don't know if this is, I might go back the next day and have no employees." And then what happened was that transformational year. It was incredible. And I was like, wow. So in answer to your question, that toxic environment, very difficult. But what you've got a choice that you have to make within it. Am I part of it? Or am I going to what's my part in it and what can I do? And you got to make a choice. Tough though, hard. That was probably two of the toughest days of my professional career when I had to do that. But transformational, what was on the other side of it.